morning and welcome to Radio Friends on this Friday, November the 21st. We've got a very interesting 8 minutes here today. Dr. David Newman is with us, RoseHeart Hypnotherapy Success Centers, and we're gonna deal with something we have not touched on before.
Ever.
Past life regression. Now, what is past life regression?
Well, it really depends on what school of thought that you want. Do you want to look at a theological standpoint, a scientific standpoint, an esoteric standpoint, the spiritual side? But basically what it is it's the concept that we have one soul in many bodies, if you will, to quote Dr. Weiss, and that is that periodically we do come back time and time again. So when we die, we do go into the spirit world or into what Christians would refer to as heaven. Okay, but we have the ability to come back. And it was really interesting in all the research that I've done, talking with literally hundreds of people that we've done the past life regression with, I always ask them the same question. And that is, when you're in heaven, when you're in the spirit world, what do you feel? And their answer unanimously has been the same. I don't feel anything other than contentment. I have all the answers and no questions. So why come to earth? And the answer is always consistent again. To feel, to experience, because in heaven I can't experience these things, so I'm experiencing them again, and then I take that knowledge back up.
As far as the scientific side of it, how do scientists look at this and say, there's a possibility there's something to it?
As a scientist, I'm just the guy for you to ask that question. You've got two really strong schools of thought on that. One of them is string theory, okay, which is all timeline is like a string, okay? And if we have multiple timelines, which we pretty well know does exist, then you take multiple strings together, okay? Hold them up, drop them down. Where they touch are places that we have a tendency to go back and forth, which kind of explains deja vu.
Now, are you talking about, when you say the string timeline, are you talking about different dimensions or different times?
Both. The times are different, okay, and your physical location within that timeline could be a totally different dimension. And if you really go down the rabbit hole a bit further, some people say yes, and it could be different planets. I personally have never had a person that came back and said I was at a different planet or anything. Different dimensions, yes, very similar to Earth, but totally different in things, different timelines.
So you're saying, if you believe in the theory, and it is a theory,
right,
of the time,
the string timeline,
the string timeline, you could be living the same life at different times.
That's correct. You're living multiple lives simultaneously, but look at it this way: if you walk out a door, you can go left. Well, okay, I choose to go left this time. In a different timeline, I chose to go right. In a different timeline, I chose to go straight. And now I'm having three totally different experiences simultaneously. But in this timeline, we're totally unaware of the others. Well, when you start looking at string theory, that drops. We can experience some things. So, for example, if we look at some historic people, like General Patton was known not to ever look at maps on the battlefield. He would physically go out there, and he was a very strong believer in reincarnation. He believed he was a soldier multiple times, and he would go out, and all of a sudden he would start telling people, this is where the enemy's going to come from, this is what they're going to do, this is how they're going to do it. And they would all sit down there and go, how do you know that? And he goes, because in Carthage, when I was a Carthaginian soldier, I was here.
He said that.
Here's where I died, and this is what they did, and these people are going to do it again. So, yeah, he was very strong with that. The really cool thing from my standpoint as a scientist is I look at things, and I'm kind of leaning towards string theory. I like that idea, but I'm also looking back at some of the things that we have the Acacia records, and let's say that is contained within the water of all of our cells, that we have all of this knowledge. Perhaps what we're doing is we're tapping into that cellular memory. Which way it goes, I don't know. But what I do know is when I work with past life regression, I'm very, very careful, and everybody that I've trained is very careful not to ask leading questions. We are more like the person who's recording what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're feeling, and we write down those descriptions, and then we take that information back and see if we can verify it. Did this actually happen?
How does this fit into the life of a very religious person?
It really fits in there quite well. In the Holy Scriptures, if you're Christian, Jesus oftentimes referred to himself when they would ask him questions about this, is when you look at me, you see both the Father, you see Abraham, you see Moses, you see Josephus, you see all of these people that had gone before. And what the implication was is, I am all of those people in my spirit. Now, if we keep in mind, we could be, because our spirit is energy. Energy is not created, it's not destroyed. It simply changes form, shape, whatever. So that is possible. So when I do it, I don't advertise the fact that we do past life regression. But if a person comes in and talks to me about it, I will talk to them and find out, where are they? Are they looking for just a kind of an entertainment experience? Okay, well, we can do one thing for that. Are you looking for something because you have a physical ailment, a psychological ailment that you feel like there's something going on and you don't know why? Okay, well, we can look at it that way. And then we get the real, what I refer to as the cream of the crop, the person that says, I'm having these experiences. They may be repeated dreams, they may be locations, things like that, and I'd like to find out about it. And there we'll sit down with 3 hours, we record everything, and then we start doing the research to find out, can we check it out?
How can you tell if someone's faking it?
Oh, there's lots of ways, but one of the ways that we do it is we'll ask them what they see. Okay, so for example, an example of one person who was kind of faking it, they were a person that lived in ancient Egypt. Okay, the time right before the Romans came into Egypt. And I asked them what they did. They basically worked in the fields. And I said, do you see an obelisk or anything around? Yes, I do. What does the obelisk say? And they immediately translated it. People couldn't read. So that told me that they have seen it in a book, they've seen it in a movie, they've seen something else. Now, I'm not going to say the whole experience was discounted. That part was. And so we research what we can to find out really what's going on. We look for names, people, places, dates if possible. Another good one is you'll ask, or I have asked, do you have any coins with money? Yes. What is on those coins? And usually it was the ruler's face that is on the coin. Is there anything else on the coin? Is there a date on it? Yes. Well, what does the date say? It says 1147 BC. No, they didn't have that, and they didn't have those type of dates. So I can discount that particular thing.
All right.
Yeah.
This is fascinating. It's fascinating, but we're out of time. People want more information, they can contact you?
Yes, over at RoseHeart Hypnotherapy Success Centers at 888-604-9997, or just go to www.mohyp.com.
Okay, Dr. David Newman, thank you so much. Good having you here.
Thank you.
Monday, we've got an author on, Peter Nye. He's going to talk about Albert Champion. You don't know who he is. We'll tell you. Our program directed by Travis McMillan, Reynolds Journalism Institute, Pat Akers Audio. Maya Jackson is floor director, and our assistant producer and guest coordinator, Uncle James Mouser. Bye-bye.